my interest in this is simply that I've had a number of constituents ask me just about it and raise it as a point of interest because it is a 2-year closure, which is unusual. And I haven't felt in a good enough, I haven't felt that I've been educated enough to be able to say anything other than, well, it's going to be awful for 2 years, but 2 years from now, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, amazing,
And
exactly.
so I think I need more detail as to be able to explain to people why
Okay.
we would be closing it and what the schedule is, what the need is for that length of a closure. Those sorts of
Very
things would
good.
be very helpful.
So we'll step through those then specifically. I do want to say that none of us have really looked forward to this closure or the idea of having to do it. I know it's been over 2 years, at least with the city's involvement, but Jeff has probably been working on it for even much longer than that. We know it's going to be frustrating and it was disappointing. I know when we initially started, prior to having all the public infrastructure plans put together, there was a hope that maybe 3 months, maybe 6-month closure, something like that. And really, as the plans came together, and GKFF actually hired Manhattan as the construction manager. They already also had Stonebridge, also doing CM work, construction management. HNTB, we've hired HNTB, we've had other consultants, and we've had other contractors look at it. And quite frankly, it really just became, we didn't know how we were going to do this without compromising safety or tearing out infrastructure or improvements that we had just put in. And if you remember the discussion with the Improve Our Tulsa, the adding of Riverside Drive and the drainage and all those things were somewhat of a late joiner to the program, but that's when it really became apparent that if the city went out there and tried to build Riverside Drive in its current alignment, the gathering would come back in here, have to tear out some of that new infrastructure to put in their park, or worse, the gathering was going to go out there, and for us to do our work, we would have to be tearing out some of the park improvements. So it was going both ways. So it really came to a point that we had to build these coordinated and basically at the same time. And what we are doing, we're not able to build our roadway specifically in a way that we normally would. We're having to do it to keep in, there's certain activities that have to go on in the park first, but just to kind of go down through that, we're going to start over here on the north end, which is to your left, at this location right here. This is about the 2700 block. The features, and it doesn't show here in a two-dimensional, but you have fill that is placed all along here, right next to the road, as you go all the way to the east and to the south, I'm sorry, and to where the old pedestrian bridge was. We have 40 and 50 foot of fill.
Phil is on the map?
Yes. F-I-L-L.
I am the map.
Yes. Oh, my.
Yeah, they're in rare form today.
Yeah, that's good.
We're so hungry.
We're getting-
Okay.
They're just getting going, trust me.
All right. So what we have on the site is around 350, 400,000 cubic yards of material here. And and what will be coming out of the river is almost 450,000 yards of material. And if anybody has looked at the bank that is behind the curb or west of the river over here, that's not very thick and it's not very wide.
It's a riverbank, Councilor Q.
It gets steep in a hurry.
Not a what?
Not a real
Drive-through
bank, it's not a financial institution.
I think I know the river.
Clearing it up. We know you're opposed
He
to
doesn't like
banks,
banks
though.
along the river.
Oh, yes. It's in yeah.
All right. So this fill is going to be having to come adjacent to and all along here, along with filling in and building some of these build-outs or bump-outs into the river. So we've got the fill going immediately adjacent to the road, and then we have 2 football field long land bridges that are going to be built over a modified alignment of Riverside Drive. It's actually moving, and then if everybody knows the S-curve, that's all being removed, and it's also being raised about 3 feet in here. So we're not able to, it's not our standard type closure where we're able to keep a lane open in each direction or something like that. We're literally interrupting both sides of the traffic. Then you get down here at 30th where we have Crow Creek coming in down in this area. Riverside Drive is actually being raised about 8 feet in that area. We're going to have there's currently just a single bridge right at grade level. It doesn't pass the 100-year flood very well and creates an issue here. We're getting that bridge up and out of the 100-year floodplain elevation, and this is going to be perched up about 8 feet. We'll catch back grade at about 33rd place, but really the grading starts right here at 31st Street. And we looked at, is there any way for us to just work on one side of the bridge and split it? But currently right now, there is no gap, there's no median there whatsoever. The road is actually going to be split by almost 21 feet at that point. We're going to have medians now, or a barrier green space, and then there's some concrete medians, anywhere from 16 to 21 feet wide all the way along here, which is kicking Riverside Drive out, and basically the footprint is changing. So with these bridges, and then we have about right along the western back curb line, for just about 3,000 feet, we're putting in brand new 54-inch sanitary sewer. That was going to take at least the outside 2 lanes, and again, so we're having to phase all these improvements all along here. So once we started looking at the physical constraints, if you've been out and before Riverside Drive was closed, you would have seen a bridge that was actually constructed to the east a little bit of the main line of Riverside Drive for construction traffic, because not even construction traffic is going to be able to get through on Riverside Drive through this construction. So they've actually built a brand new bridge offline. It's just temporary, just during construction. And another thing that we kind of learned when we started doing our temporary closures starting in March, if we provide a way for vehicles, you get pedestrians and you get bicyclists. The GKFF has actually even gone to the extreme. All that fencing that was up there, that is for safety reasons. That's not so you can't see the work, that's not so you can't see anything, but literally we had folks in wheelchairs, bicycles, everybody in that outside lane, and we ended up having a gate cut almost every night to get access to the trails. So it really made it to where if you provided vehicle access, you were going to have pedestrians and you were going to have bicyclists. That was just, so when we started looking at all this, it really became apparent that starting right now and the way the project is sequenced, it looks like these improvements are all having to be staged so we can build them in a coordinated fashion. There isn't a way. What we're doing and what we're committed to do is we're trying to make the closure of this road and the impacts on the adjacent properties and the other roads and all the detours, we're going to do all the signage we can. We've already changed timing on traffic signals on Peoria, and quite honestly, compared to the hundreds of complaints we got when Lewis was closed over I-44, we've got 12. As of just minutes ago before this meeting, I just called what the latest call was in so far. And some of them were some of the signs that we had on the detour routes were blocking line of sight, vision things that were blocking sidewalks. But as far as actual complaints to where we're going to be altering, the only one that we have right now that we're going to be monitoring over the next few weeks is 21st in Peoria going eastbound. We currently have the right lane shut down west of the intersection, and we're getting a lot of cut-through traffic on Owasso. We've already talked to Chief Jordan. We're going to get a couple of motorcycle police guys out there if the speeds get to be excessive. But what we might do is make that right lane a right turn only. That would allow the people to go down and then head south and keep them from cutting through Owasso. And that's those kind of things we want to hear the feedback on, and we've been encouraging. And in the interviews and things that we're doing, we're really encouraging getting the feedback. If somebody can point to something that's not working well or something that we can change, we can sure do it. We've been approaching this closure and the signs is going to be very dynamic, and we will change what we need to and adjust. Quite honestly, some of our fears and concerns along Brookside in that particular area haven't materialized yet. Haven't this week, but really what we've found is after about 5 weeks, everything settles down and people kind of pick their routes. So we don't want to jump out there and start doing drastic changes, but at least, if somebody's got speeding in an area, we can throw up a sign overnight, local traffic only, do something like that, and then also have our Tulsa Police Department out there looking at doing tickets. So that's just kind of an overview from the technical side and the construction. Just quite honestly, there's no physical ability to get traffic through there. What we are going to do and what we're committed to do is if there is a way, as we're moving through this and the projects come together, we're always going to be open to what can we do to open Riverside as early as we possibly can. And that's really all I can offer at this point because Riverside Drive hasn't bid yet. We haven't started erecting. Well, we're working on the footings, or getting ready to start on and they're mobilizing on doing the footings for the land bridges right now. And then we're going to be starting some demolition of some walls and some crossings. We currently do have a crossing across here. Swan Creek is already cut across. We're going to have a similar one that's going to go diagonal all the way across 31st. It's cutting all the way across this direction. And then we're going to have other crossings at the same time. We have an outfall, a 48-inch pipe that's going to be coming out here across Riverside Drive again diagonally. But when we've really had, it's not just been one group, it's not just the engineering staff of the city, it's not just GKFF, but we've actually got the comments and the review by these construction managers, Manhattan, and all of them have said this is a safety nightmare. We are going to be having some fences erected on either end, and as far as for the trucks and things that are going to be entering the property, they're going to be checked and monitored as we do this. So I guess that's really the explanation behind it. And it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be frustrating, but we are very encouraged by the feedback we've gotten so far this week. A lot of traffic has found their way, and one of the things, we have signs all over this entire area, but what you don't see here is also we have 11 signboards positioned out on the Creek Turnpike, South 75, 244, the Red Fork split coming in, I-44-2 on the service road that basically are warning people to, if you're getting off on Riverside, before they do that, go to 75, go on Riverside Drive is closed. So we have tried not only just to do the closures in this area, but we've expanded that so where people do have choices, and before they make those choices to get onto Riverside, there's a sign that tells them to do that. So
Just so, though, my question at the outset was clear, I haven't heard anybody question the need to close it to do the work you're talking about. It's the issue of 2 years.
Right.
And so I guess my question was more about from a scheduling all of that work standpoint, why is it taking 2 years to do versus a year?
All
Or,
right.
like you said at the beginning, 6 months or 3 months or what
So
have you?
normally on a road, something like this, if we were just doing Riverside and we had no other improvements coming onto it, you're probably talking a 16-month project just by itself.
Okay.
And then what we would look at is what could we do to build half at a time, and keep one lane open in each direction. We would still probably have a total closure sometime during that project for the Crow Creek bridges, as well as that S-curve removal.
Right.
So those would be, we've got one out on Apache right now, and where we're raising the road there right at 7 feet or 8 feet, and that closure is going to be a 6-month closure, 5 or 6 month closure just on its own, and it's not going to be complete until October of next year. So a total closure, it's not just due to the park, it's due to the realignment and the work adjacent to it. So what we have done, and we've been doing what we call a critical path method of scheduling of all the projects, we already have started the Swan Creek job, and we've worked on the drainage projects on that. They're just now able to cut across and get out into the river at this location. We've already started the drainage projects up here, and we're doing as much as we can without closing Riverside Drive. It would have been, normally when you build stormwater outfall boxes and things like that, you start at the downstream end and work your way up. So what we have not done is this diagonal crossing across 31st and Riverside and its outfall. And we're having, the outfalls can't be built until the build-outs are in place. So what we're doing is we're actually going a little bit different sequence. We've got Swan Creek going, we've got the, just lost the name, Travis Park storm sewer going. We have just started on our sanitary sewer work that's going up right beside this. And then we have our water line that's going to be going all the way through here started. The bridges are going to start, which would have required a total closure. And then we're just going to be improving Riverside Drive in and around here, leaving the old road in place all the way back down to 24th. Focus here, get this done so they can then erect and build the bridge over this. And then once that gets started, we're going to then be working on Crow Creek. By that time, hopefully the sanitary sewer is up and past that. And meanwhile, they're going to be starting to haul out 400 and some thousand yards of dirt out of zinc, and they're going to be all over this road and then back over here. And then once this fill here starts, FILL starts on this earthen bank, it's going to be 40 and 50 feet high. And there is literally, that's a whole nother process. So our street guy then, once they can work on Crow, he will start working 24th back to 21st and working that. So we're not able to work north to south. We have to build these things coincidentally with, while the gathering is erecting those things. And we've been able to do that. But we have looked at schedules, Counselor, to see, could we jump out here in front and let that sit for a while? Then we're building over new infrastructure, and likewise let them get started, and then we come in following, and that hasn't worked either. So right now, the best minds that have looked at it from their side and our side, right now at this point, it's best just to say 2 years. And if we can beat that, we're committed to doing so. But right now, there's major elements that haven't even been bid yet and advertised, and we got to see how they can work out. If the contractors come in and they work together, if we have maybe one contractor getting multiple of these jobs and they start coordinating among themselves, we may be able to beat that 2 years. But what I've asked Jeff, and for us not really to talk about it, I'd rather run up on it than say we're only going to be closed 12 months, then push it back for 15 to 18. We thought that we would do the 2 years, and that's something we can beat.
So to boil it down for us, if we get like I had a number of the questions on this come up in the River Town Hall meetings, and I imagine as other councilors are doing their Vision Town Hall meetings, it may come up. So a fairly straightforward answer there then is, it has to be closed that length because Riverside Drive is being completely realigned and rebuilt. We're installing a new stormwater system.
Right.
And we're building, by my count, tell me if I'm wrong, 3 bridges, 2 land bridges and 1 on Crow Creek?
Actually, those are, the ones at Crow Creek are 2 separate bridges, so we're
So
actually got
4
4
bridges.
Right.
So you have 4 bridges, a
Pedestrian
road,
And a
Bank
pedestrian
buildup.
bridge.
so
That's right.
5 bridges?
Yes,
Water, yeah.
that's
Well,
right.
yeah, 5 bridges. and
5
creeks.
bridges, a road complete reconstruction, and stormwater system complete
New
replacement.
sanitary and a water line.
Okay.
Plus, PSO's moved all their electric. We have one gas that's moving a gas line. Cox is moving all their lines. We're burying every high wire line that's within and around the site. So there's just a lot of utility work being done as we speak right this moment.
Okay.
Because there could have been actually a closure of Riverside. If we were able to close it earlier, it would have made the work that we're doing right now actually be more efficient. We've literally maximized the time without hurting that end time frame by keeping it. We've agreed on a late closing of Riverside Drive is basically what was negotiated. We could have closed this back in March or February, and it would have made the current work that's underway right now a lot more efficient.
Okay, great. That helps, thank you.
Okay.
Counselor Dodson? Yes, the you said you're raising that one part of Riverside 8 feet.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to create a rise in the road that's going to affect safety?
No, we've done them all to, we have a design speed, and then you have sight distance issues and things like
Mhm.
that. That's why that curve is so long. You don't just raise 8 feet right here. It's literally comes all the way back.
Okay.
We don't catch natural grade. Plus, the nice thing, and one of the things was able to do that, we would not have been able to do that with these apartments left here. There were drives and there was no way we could have caught grade. So the fact that
And
these
how
are
close would that
gone.
get to other lights? I only ask because especially in my area of town, you have some of those slopes that come up on approach to intersections.
Absolutely.
They back up, they are incredibly dangerous. You
No.
come across those hills and,
These are being designed with that very thing in mind.
Okay.
We would not, the hills, like for instance, in some of those in your area,
Mhm.
when we widen that road, we'll lower those hills 8, 10, 12 feet. I mean,
Okay.
we just did one where we had a bunch of rear end accidents at 81st
Mm-hmm.
and Memorial. You know, we lowered that 12 and 14 feet. 81st and Delaware, we lowered to 18 feet. So when you widen them and you do these type of improvements, we do it for safe stopping distance and sight distances so that they can be able to, like if this person's making a right turn, they're gonna look this way and they will have plenty of run-up time to be able to see any vehicle coming over this pedestrian, over
Okay.
this bridge.
just wanted to cover that.
Absolutely.
You
No.
just talked about raising a road, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're doing work under the bridge too, right?
In phase one, we are not, phase two includes the trails and the connectivity underneath that we
But you're
then access.
just, you're providing room for phase two stuff to
Oh,
take
absolutely.
place, yeah.
Plus, we're getting the 100-year
Counselor
floodplain
Lincoln?
from backing up.
Yeah, thank you. I was just borrowing some Counselor Dodson's time.
It's all right, I was done, thanks, Dad.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your comments.